I just want to talk to you about hacking together minimum viable products, and that's a phrase that obviously lots of programs here use to just get something working, and it's something that I've learned a lot about in the last kind of year and a half or so as I've tried to make the transition from somebody who spent a lot of time reading tutorials and getting kind of frustrated to being able to just about put together things that for myself and for other people, and learning about the process of programming. And what's motivated me is hacking together small minimum viable products, or MVPs. So the format of my talk, I just want to talk about some of the ideas I've had, the MVP I've ended up building, and then what's been the result of that MVP and where it's gone. And just kind of briefly touch on the different things that I've managed to kind of put together myself. So the first one was about 4 years ago. It was something called Hoodieasy, and this was a group ordering system for customized hoodies. And the way in which this was built is just using a kind of static web page and using something called Woofu, which is a kind of online form generator where you can kind of build an interactive form and have payment pages and easily set up a database and manage all the information. And so really I actually ended up building a business around this site that was just static pages and Woofu forms. And then I ended up working with a Rails developer, and we kind of built out the whole system, and it turned into a business that I ran for a couple of years, and I learned a lot of stuff, but I still was just about able to do the interface, and that wasn't very pretty, but it did convert. And the next idea I had whilst I was running Hoodieasy was something called Nudge. And the problem that we had at Hoodieasy is following up with all of the leads, depending on whether they'd emailed us back or not, after we'd sent them a quote. And the MVP for this system was essentially a lovely lady called Faye. And she worked with me, and she would every evening for about 3 or 4 hours just follow up with all the people and check about all the people who got in contact, when was the last point of contact, and then send them a follow-up email. And this just converted like crazy. And so once again, I had the opportunity to work with a developer, and I kind of did the front end for setting up the rules and the follow-up emails, and it plugged into our Gmail account, and this allowed Faye and I just to kind of enjoy our evenings and not have to work sending follow-up emails to hundreds and hundreds of leads. The next idea I had is something I actually wanted to build myself for the first time, and that was a clone of a service called GroupMe in the US, and that's like a kind of group texting application where you can set up a hub number and you receive texts and send text all to it. It's kind of a way of organising. So I cloned it with something and called it Grupo. And Grupo, essentially the minimum viable product for it was a few lines of Ruby, and there was a bit extra on this, and it was communicating with something called an SMS Gateway. And me and my friends used it for a little while, and it was really good fun. I then decided to take this forward, and I actually built my first ever Rails application, like a kind of full working system, kind of following a few tutorials and using what I'd learned previously to just get this thing going. And I learned a lot, including that paying for lots of other people's text messages to and from their phones is not a sustainable business model. I also learned about gateways, and something that you might not know about gateways, but that was kind of interesting to me, is that you can actually pass in to certain gateways the from number, which means you can send a text to somebody and make it look like it's come from somebody else. So a new idea came around. It's called text prank, and the very simple idea was I thought I'd just try and see if I could write some code to send my brother a text message, make it look as if it comes from his girlfriend, telling him that she's leaving him for me. It took me a few hours to work out, but eventually it worked. And I hit enter, and bam, my brother just comes storming down the stairs and is completely enraged. And then he's like, sees me grinning, and on my laptop, and he's like, oh god, this is something he's working out on the laptop. Anyway, I actually built a mobile app, so I learned about mobile apps and designing responsive stuff as well. And so I had this app, and I was like, I'm going to charge everyone £1 to do these prank texts, and it's going to be amazing. And then I actually thought, holy crap, this could actually cause some serious damage. People could use it for a lot of evil. So I've just got it on my phone and I haven't released it. But it did get me thinking more about text messages and kind of the anxiety that surrounds text messages in our society. I always listen to my friends going, oh, I should have texted that girl back, or haven't got included enough kisses, or the text was a bit short, or whatever. So me and a friend, in our rather desperate and anxious ways, started analysing our text database with Ruby, and this was a really motivator to learn kind of more things about Ruby and strings and manipulating. And we were counting things like the number of messages, the length, the patterns, and the number of kisses, and etc, etc. And this turned into an Android app. And I tell you, nothing's going to motivate you more to learn Java than the prospect that this could actually help you get laid. Shameless plug there, so if anybody wants to check out the app, it's incredibly basic, but this has been my experience of going from somebody who doesn't understand programming to finding things that will motivate me to learn a bit more about programming. And it's really been an enjoyable experience for me so far. I'd like to thank you very much for listening to my talk.